Welcome to my introductory video for War Thunder. I'm Spetsnaz FP, and this will hopefully allow people to get into War Thunder a little more easily, and I'll try to deliver this in decent chunks so it's not too long-winded or however it goes. But let's get into it. So what is War Thunder? War Thunder is a free-to-play uh, deathmatch style, historically accurate flight sim that's going to turn into a tank sim and eventually a ship sim in time. Tanks are due up in a few weeks as the posting of this video. I think it's supposed to be around PlayStation 4 launch day. But yeah, it's free to play. You don't have to pay a cent. You can just go to Google War Thunder, download the launcher, download the game, install, boom, you're done, you're off, you're rolling. So I say it's an arcadey flight sim because you have here the battle tab arcade battles. These have simplified flight models. It's more of an arcade style flight game with still the realistic bullet physics and damage models on the aircraft. Historical battles, these can throw you into a well, they throw you into more of an arcade battle type thing, but your flight models are very realistic, and you have to take liberties. You can't reload in midair. You have to go back to base to land, to repair, well, you have to repair regardless of an air base, but to just rearm, you have to go fly back to a base and land. And that takes time. And then you have full real battle. Yeah, you can forget about using a third-person camera in full real battle. You're stuck in cockpit view. And I don't believe there's really any friend-foe indicators. There might be friendly indicators, but there's no foe indicators. So you don't know the distance exactly before you can start shooting. You have to use the Mark 1 eyeball and look. So it's all about knowing what you're doing. I mean, it's very realistic, but you also make a lot more money doing this. Ooh, see, the campaign is... And these are ongoing campaigns that they throw up. So it's until that campaign is over, you don't get to use the other aircraft in it. So they're pretty intense. As well as you have events over here where you can do arcade battles with no respawn. That sounds pretty promising, actually. Well, get up here. Then you have historical battle, no respawn, and they limit the aircraft that you can use for these engagements. Then you have a full real battle event where they limit the aircraft you can use in these engagements, but you also get bonus money for participating in these. And they're pretty fun. Some of those can be a lot of fun, but you got to really have a good aircraft and know what you're doing with that said aircraft before you jump into those. Otherwise, you'll get your butt handed to you. But, so what makes War Thunder different than other games, free-to-play games? Well, for one, it's very historically accurate. If a plane had problems, the problems are in this game. If the plane had strengths, the strengths are in this game. So they try to match up the planes based on a tier system here. Tier Reserve, which is Tier 0, through Tier 20, to be your F8 here. And then Tier 0 with like the Fury and the Nimrod. And they try to balance out the planes engaging each other as when they were actually released in the world. But that doesn't necessarily the case because you have the Mosquito down here at rank 12. Yeah, this thing was out before, way before that. This thing really desperately needs to be up higher because that's the strength of the Mosquito, was that it was fast, but rank 12, I mean, the Spitfire here at rank 12 goes 382. So it's a little bit faster than some of the other aircraft, but really, it needs to be lower on the tier list. It needs to be. But enough of my ranting. So the planes have their historical armaments on them. They have their historical engine powers, flight characteristics, all of that. It's all here, as well as how armored they were. So everything's there with that. Eventually you're going to add in tanks, do the same thing with that, and then add in ships and do the same thing with that. We'll go a little bit over the nations here, and then I'm going to call it a video. This is, like I said, the next video we'll get into in-depth on each nation. As well, next video, no, it won't be that. It'll be actually menus and options, and we'll go over a little bit more of what the game is. But this game is immensely fun. You get out of it what you put into it. That's how a lot of these free-to-play games work, and they're just a ton of fun. So you have the United States of America, which has Army Air Corps, Bomber Command, naval fighters, naval bombers, and you have each nation also gets premium aircraft. You have the Luftwaffe of Nazi Germany, which also includes the Italian Air Force, which is a welcome addition. I love the Italian aircraft, especially the MC-202 Folgore. Love that aircraft. It's a beauty. Not the most powerful aircraft, but it's so fun to fly. Such a good aircraft. You have the 109 Troop here. It goes all the way down into the ME-262. You have the FW-190s, their heavy fighter line, dive bomber line, heavy bomber line, which basically isn't heavy. It just goes up to a medium bomber. But as heavy as the Germans got. You have the Soviet Union. As you can see, I've been playing this game a while, but I don't use premium. I will be eventually, but right now I'm not using premium. So I've got a good balance, a good look at what's going on with each nation. But you have the Yak line, you have the MiG line, you have the LA series, the SU and IL series, which is their attacker and bomber, light bomber aircraft, and then you have the heavy bomber line. Yeah, you have your bomber line. Yours should be heavy bombers, yeah. And then you have the heavy fighter slash bomber mix line. And it really isn't much to their heavy fighter. It's one thing Russia lacks is some heavy fighters. Great Britain, you have your Hurricane Typhoon line. You have your Spitfire into Meteor line. And then you have your heavy fighter light bomber line down through here. And then you have your heavy bomber. The mighty Lancaster. Then you look at the Japanese. You have your Zero naval fighter line. You have your Army, Imperial Army line. It's like the Hayabusa here, which was known as the Oscar. That is a dangerous aircraft, I don't care what anybody says. And you have the Shusui. Now, there's a few aircraft not here yet. They're still working on getting some stuff for the Japanese. They did add a heavy fighter line here not too long ago, which has some really good stuff, like a 57mm Atsu. Then you have their bomber line, which Japanese bombers are probably the most offensive of them all. They have some really wicked guns on them. I'd say they're probably second to the Americans. The B-17s are just ridiculous, but these have 20mm cannons all of them. So they're pretty lethal in that regard, and they got a good bomb load. So Japanese got pretty good bombers. So that's the 5 nations. We'll go into each one of them in detail, talk about historical accuracies of each, get into it, dive into this, and hopefully you guys can take something away from this. I mean, this is the first time I've really gone in depth with something like this, so yeah, there'll probably be some derp moments and problems, but hopefully some people can take some things away from this and make getting into this game a lot easier than how I got into it, which was basically trial and error. Though there will still be some of that for everyone, hopefully I can condense down the time that it took for me to finally enjoy this game and really get into it. Thanks for watching.